Hello and welcome to the Arsenal Bite Size Podcast. I'm your host Clayton at Clates AFC on X. I've not quite made it over to Blue Sky, and nor do I have the intention to. Have you made it over? I'm with my co-host at FPL Nima on X. Have you made the switch over to Blue Sky?
I don't know about Switch. I've made an account to see
Okay,
what's popping off. Yeah. Someone did actually ask me when is Clayton coming, and I said,
I'm
I
not.
don't. I was like, I don't know. I don't think he is.
Nah, I'm trying to remove myself from social media. I'm not trying to add
Add
accounts.
to it.
So
Yeah.
yeah, to be honest, like obviously it's another international break done. Looking forward to the kind of football side of things getting back, and I think it's pretty much going to be every 3 days again now until the new year because the Premier League schedule is going to be intense. But there's the Champions League in there. We've obviously got the Carabao Cup as well. But in this period, in this international break, I actually deleted the Twitter app, and I felt so like mentally peaceful. Like I'm gonna try kind of stay off it. Like I've got it open in front of me right now on desktop, but yeah, I don't
But
know.
that
Just
only if you're on like a computer, right? Rather than like
yeah.
it's always there in the tip of your fingertips.
Yeah, I and Marsh is in the chat says Clayton confirmed Musk fan. Uncle Mike's in from Johannesburg. Oi oi lads. Hope Uncle Mike is having a lovely time out there. But yeah, how temperature check. How have you been since the international break? Obviously, Mike did the Chelsea review with me. And yeah, how are you feeling going into this game before we get into the detail? We're here to preview the Forest game for anyone that isn't watching and is listening to two random people on YouTube.
Yeah, if you've just tuned in out of nowhere on your home feed, we are going to talk about the Nottingham Forest game. But in terms of, I think it's a good time to take a pit stop, right? We're almost a third of the way through the season. We've had a 2 week break to process the kind of rough start, I guess, the stop and start that we've had so far. I'm still feeling like tomorrow's the beginning of like the season in my eyes. Like it's like it's kind of like obviously I didn't get to tell you about how I felt about Chelsea at the time. So just on that note, the reason I say it's the start of the season is seeing Martin Odegaard at the end of that game, just after being out for so long and like commanding his troops in battle and like leading that press and, you know, playing the full game and like still going like that the way he was at the time he was. And it reminded me of what you'd said in some of the big games we had so far this season about with him not being there, maybe Jorginho would be on the pitch to do some of that coaching. But I think I just underestimated like how much we were missing him being there and literally commanding his troops. I feel like I think I was listening on Monday to like one of the Arsenal Vision podcasts, and they were saying it's almost like he brings out the best in all the other players because he covers all of their weaknesses. So every time someone's like, oh, but like, you know, Declan Rice in this position doesn't do this, or Partey here doesn't do that, or Timber or White doesn't do this. It's like whatever the issues of every, we know, Trossard this, Martinelli that, it's like Odegaard fixes it. It's like he
Yeah.
is like just the fixer of all. And so that's why I want to say it feels like the season is just starting because I underestimated myself personally, like how badly we had missed our captain.
Yeah, it puts a lot of pressure on tomorrow's game, I think, because I'm the same. I'm kind of like, yeah, tomorrow is a reset, and like the fixtures on paper look winnable for the foreseeable. Like there's a few challenging ones in there, including tomorrow, but I see a lot of similarities with the season, just after the COVID season when we signed like Ben White, Tomiyasu. We obviously lost against Brentford, Chelsea, then City, I think, in that order. Then there was an international break, and then we beat Norwich, and it was 1-0. It was a scrappy goal. I think it was like a Aubameyang on the line. But
That
then
we had to win. Yeah, like we had to win. It was
yeah,
really scrappy, as you
but
say.
that set the tone of it. And that, like, I don't think we went on like a major run, but it felt like a momentum shifter. And I think tomorrow feels very similar to that. In like, I don't think it's going to be like a comfortable win, but I think it's a winnable game. And then I think this is the thing with like everyone, including myself, is saying Arsenal are going to go on a run, or Arsenal have the ability to go on a run. Arsenal need to go on a run starting now. I think the thing with those is like, even when we went on that run earlier in the calendar year, I know we beat Palace 5-0. That wasn't a 5-0 first half. Like it was a bit scrappy and then suddenly like bang, bang. And then you arrive with like a different aura in the next games. And then suddenly you're fast forwarding to Bramall Lane where we're beating them. I think we're 4-0 up in 20 minutes, but all the videos are coming out of like the kind of Arsenal defensive wall. And there's that kind of aura around the side, right? I think it all, when you reverse engineer it, it stems from building blocks. So like it's a case of go and beat Forest tomorrow. It doesn't matter how, just get the 3 points. Then go to West Ham, build on that. Then suddenly you're arriving against Man United in a very different headspace and confidence level. So I think it's a case of building blocks to get to that element, to get to that side of just going on this winning run. But it starts with Forest tomorrow, so let's go into that, I guess. And just before we do get into that, Uncle Mike's basically summarized what I was trying to say. You don't know you're on a run until you're on a run. It's so true. Like, even though we beat Palace 5-0, none of us thought we would go on that run. And the only reason we're saying that now is because we've seen us do it. So let's hope it starts tomorrow. Team news wise, so before we give our predicted 11, I'll just run through some of the highlights from Arteta's press conference. The summary is Ben White, as we've known. I think most people have known he's going to be out for a while. Arteta said months, but didn't give a specific time frame. He's had surgery, so he's out for a while. Tomiyasu, who I think it was rumored could be back after this international break, he's out for a while as well. Again, no time frame, but I'm going to be empathetic towards Tomiyasu here because I've shared my frustrations around his lack of availability, but the language Arteta used was quite telling for me. He spoke about the kind of psychological trouble it's having on him and like changing the environment as a result. So I think he's kind of going away to a different place. He said Tomiyasu is someone that just wants to work 24 hours to get himself available. So I don't think this is his fault per se. So even though it's frustrating, the likes of Ben White have had to play through an injury, the knock-on impact on that, we're short in fullback areas. I'm going to try to stay empathetic towards Tomiyasu in this period. I'll give that a week as that lasts until someone else gets injured, and then I'm pissed off. Calafiori trained today, so he's back in the squad. Saka and Rice. Now I'm trying to find the specific quote on that, but Arteta basically said that they took part in partial training today. So they took part in partial training. I'm trying to find the exact quote because I feel like it's one of these where everything can get lost in translation. Just while I'm
skinning, I saved it. Yeah, so
you got it.
Yeah,
Trossard, by the way, was a rumoured doubt, picked up a knock on the international break, but he's okay. He trained this morning and Arteta said he's feeling good. I have found that quote. Have you got it or should I go for it?
No, you go for it.
I'm adding no value here. It's basically exactly what I said. So this is from Tiki Taka Connor on X. Sorry, Marsh. Yeah, the Elon Musk ultras. Mikel Arteta confirms Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka took part in partial training for the first time this morning for Arsenal. So with all of that holistic brain dump, let's just go straight in. What's your predicted 11 for this game? I'll read out what the starting 11 was against Chelsea a fortnight ago. So that was David Raya in goal, Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel Timber as the back four. The midfield three was Partey, Odegaard, and Declan Rice, who looked like he had a broken toe. And then the front three was Martinelli, Havertz, and Saka. What do you think, with the information we have, the starting 11 will be tomorrow against Nottingham Forest?
Yeah, so I am pretty confident of the back five, including Raya in goal. I think it will be kind of Timber at right back, Saliba, Gabriel, with Calafiori getting into the team. He did say Calafiori will be in the squad. Obviously, that doesn't mean he starts, but just based on kind of what's going on and who's available, I assume he does. So that's quite exciting because I think we've only actually seen that fullback pairing 3 times this season. And many of the games we saw it in were like the games we looked our best. So like the games against Leicester, the games against PSG, we've not really had a chance. And even then, there was no Odegaard. So
and
I'm
City
really
as well,
excited.
where 11
City,
11, we
course,
go on and win
right.
that. Yeah, it's a good point on those 3 games.
So those are the 3 best games, which like all season, I think those are the 3 games you're the best. And it can't be coincidence that these 2 were the fullback pairing. So I'm really excited to see them with Odegaard for the first time. I do think Partey and Rice will get in. I think it's going to be Saka, Havertz, Martinelli. Maybe I'm being optimistic about this kind of late test. I guess they're going to do a final check on Saka and Rice tomorrow.
What's that on a late test? I've not seen that quote.
Well, it's not a quote. This is the thing. It's one of those ITK accounts on Twitter. I think Hand of Ozil. And I remember
Sounds legit.
Yeah. Hand of Ozil, yeah. But he's one of those where they don't have a profile pic and they have like just a black circle. And their name is
right. So we're going to read into it with gospel truth.
Put it this way. They tweeted this 37 minutes ago. It's already got 376 likes and 22,000 impressions. So everyone has like notifications on for this account because I think in the summer they were like doing the transfer rumors. So I think there's supposedly an ITK, but we know what kind of the hit and miss ratio with these is. Like there was people spreading rumors last few days that Saka was out. There was less than a 20% chance he would play this weekend. They said he was also going to be out of West Ham. He was being safe for Man United. And then Arteta comes out and goes, oh, he's partially trained. So it's
Yeah,
like,
I saw
that's
the
a,
same. Yeah, I
yeah.
saw
So
the
what's
same
going on
stuff
there? Yeah.
on Twitter, and the other thing that threw me was I can't remember if it was midweek, but there's that guy. Is it Con Marbles or something?
Yes.
He's quite a popular Arsenal ITK account with a mixed success bag, but he tweeted something really cryptic about Raheem Sterling, like, what have you got for me? And that
Yeah.
made me think, oh, maybe Saka's not going to make it. But for what it's worth, I interpreted, like, all we can, in my opinion, go off is the manager's quotes. Like, you can analyze his track record, whether he lies and this and that. I'm just going to look at what he said.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think both Rice and Saka will be in the starting 11. Marsh is in the chat, says the same. He said the vibe he got when Arteta was talking about Rice and Saka is that they're both starting. A bit of a random one. I'm just going to bring this up because I've got it in front of me. Uncle Mike's asking, do we see a situation where Tierney gets any minutes? Arteta said that he's not available yet. So not for now. Maybe in the Carabao Cup against Palace coming up, but I don't think we need to waste time talking about Tierney just yet. I think there will be a situation where we talk about him nearer to that game. So yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no. So all I was saying is this. Obviously, this ITK, it said like Saka late fitness test, and that came like minutes after Arteta's presser. So I can only imagine that they have a source at the club because, as Marsh says, that account has leaked stuff in the past, similar to Conor Marble. And but based on just what Arteta says, I think Marsh is right because the way he said they've both taken part in partial training, the way I read it as well was that like, and he basically said, and that's very positive. So it's like he seemed very upbeat about them having done the partial training. So I feel like just kind of reading into that between the lines, it's fine. Now
Do
the
you
other
know what?
side of it is
No, sorry,
this
go on.
nerve. Well, I was gonna say the other part of it is there's this nervousness where like every single time Saka's finally made a match day squad with a late test, he's been talked about as a doubt by Arteta. And then like this time when there's leaks from days ago saying he won't play, now suddenly he's like taking part in training and it's really positive. That throws me because I'm like, would it not be the most Arteta thing to say everything's fine when it's not?
Well, that's the thing, that he has got a history on certain high-profile players where he'll say something factually true, like he's partially trained, but it always ends up being that they don't then make it. And
Mhm.
do you know what? As you said it out loud, my brain then went, okay, partially trained. That's not fully trained. Maybe they're a day or two behind schedule. And if it was a Sunday 4:30 game, they'd make it. But maybe they're not quite ready for that. Fuck, I've thrown myself into an element of doubt there.
So
Do you
then
think?
that so
Obviously,
then the
we got
question is who starts, right? So let's say Thacker, let's say there was a late fitness test tomorrow. Because when else is he going to train, right? So he's done one partial session. Let's say he does one more session now, like a full session if he's lucky, and then he
I
plays.
doubt it, honestly.
There might not even be
I mean,
another session left between now and the match, right?
yeah. Do you know what? Okay, I'm gonna revise. So sorry. What was your 11? Because I think I've got mine, and it doesn't have Saka in it now.
So mine was like pretty much what we're seeing on screen, apart from Calafiori in for Ben White. That was literally where I
Okay,
was going with my mind. Yeah.
sure. Any thoughts on whether Marino starts instead of Party with Rice at the base? He looked impressive when he came on against Chelsea.
He did, didn't he? He definitely he made me question like why he didn't start over someone with a broken toe. But I think like if Rice isn't ready, so if he doesn't make it for the game, I think Marino will play as D8 with Party.
Sure.
Otherwise, I don't think I'm not personally convinced Marino will start if Rice is past fit.
For what it's worth, I agree. So my 11, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Now I'm going without Saka in mine. I think Rice will play because we knew about Rice's toe injury anyway, but he started against Chelsea, right? And then, I mean, in my opinion, he looked physically off it. And he's had this international break to kind of rest. So I think there's no new news on that, which makes me think he'll be okay and he'll start.
Mm.
Saka went off injured, right? So there's like, that's more of a new thing. Like, we didn't know Saka didn't have anything to our consciousness in terms of an injury doubt going into that game. We know how much he's always like carrying something, but What I'm trying to say is Rice, we knew going into the game and we saw the impact of it and he went off. Saka was like, it was an impact thing. He went off and there's been a lot of doubts in the media and stuff. And just the whole thing about the partial training and just conscious we've got Sporting away on Tuesday. I don't think Saka's going to make it to start the game. I think he'll be in the squad. But yeah, so as a result, I've got the same back five as you, Raya, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori. I've got the same midfield three. I do think it will be Partey, Rice, Odegaard, and Marino will perhaps game state wise look to get some minutes from the bench, maybe incorporate him against Sporting. But front three, it's now okay. I think it will be Havertz for sure. I'm now thinking if I've not got Saka in there, what are my options at right wing? And that is Trossard left wing, Martinelli right wing, which we've seen once or twice. There's Jesus right wing, or there's Sterling. I think he's going to go Sterling, because he started him when Saka wasn't there against Bournemouth. Granted, he was the first one off, but I think that's because we were down to 10 men. I think he's going to go Sterling. So yeah,
I think Sterling as well. I think so. For me, it's like Marino if Rice isn't going to start, and Sterling if Saka isn't going to start. That's kind of
fair play.
But whereas I'd like to think it's actually going to be neither of those situations, and that they're all going to start and get subbed off early, because I do think Forest are in a great vein of form this year. They've looked phenomenal. Their managers told people to like not get carried away with their start, but they've been up there in the top of the table, fighting with the best. Defensive-wise, underlying numbers, they're a top 4 defense, I think, in the league this year. So they are looking very good. And I saw a video of their dressing room after their big win before the international break last game, and the vibes around the place, everything looks good. It's like that happy dressing room. Like everything that was wrong about them 2-3 years ago has been fixed, if you see what I mean. So I think we spoke about this. We talked about which team would you support outside the big six, and we talk about like their manager is obviously like a great guy, and like the video he had online talking to the supporters, and like the reason I say all this is that previously, right, they just bought a bunch of players, and they just bought everyone, and like every single player was there. There was like 4 goalkeepers in one window. What's telling is of the like hundreds of millions they spent that year when they came up, I think there's 1 player left even in the squad, let alone in the starting 11. Wow. So like this is now now they're finally settled. They actually have decided, you know what, that previous policy was ridiculous. Let's like run the club properly. So I think they're in a very good place, like just at every level of the club, the fans are connected again. Like, so I think we shouldn't just take it for granted that because we're at home and like that we need to start winning to get into the title race, that it's a given. Yeah, I think I've seen a lot of people talk about this game like as if it's a formality, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm kind of nervous.
Yeah, completely agree, and I think that will take us nicely into the next couple of sections. Before we do, just a shout out to Delia's in the chat. I've just flagged up the wrong question. It wasn't a question, it was a statement. No, it is a question. Delia, hello. How's your head today, Nima? So yeah, for context, it was the FCA Awards last night. You do sound like you've got that kind of hungover, deep voice going on. So yeah, how is your head today?
Yeah, so I'm not feeling that great, but I think it's I think it's more from the tiredness. Basically, we were at the Tottenham Stadium. I know it's blasphemous, but my first time visiting the Spurs Stadium, and by the time we left, there was no public transport home, so I had to share an Uber. And when I realized how far I really was from where I live, like just south of the Thames, I was like, oh shit, because I was so far north. And I thought the guy would drop me off on the way to someone else's place in Streatham or something, right? So I was like, oh, I'll come off in like Vauxhall or over one of these bridges in London. And then on the map, I'm just seeing we're going further and further and further east. And then I'm like, it's at 1:30 a.m. And like, I'm further east than I was north when I started this Uber journey. And then the guy's like, yeah, we've driven 20 miles. I was like, what? And then like after all that, when he finally got to Streatham, because he took a completely different route to what I thought, we then had to edit the destination, and I had to like get him to continue going another 20 minutes. So I was basically like in this Uber till the early hours of the morning.
Fair play for showing up. You've done well.
Yeah, honestly. It's, and I've not, as you know, obviously, because I've been doing the fitness stuff, I think yesterday was maybe only the 4th time I've had a drink since like September 2nd.
Oh, so like one pint would have got to you yesterday then.
Yeah, I wasn't even going for pints. I was getting the bottles because they're smaller, right? And just after the first one, I was immediately like, oh, wow, like, is that all it takes?
Yeah, Fair play. Well, yeah, hope you had a nice night, Delia. Just going back into the preview, we're going to try to get this wrapped up in the next 10 minutes. So if you've got any questions, guys and girls in the chat, whack them in and we'll get to them. Another thought that just quickly popped into my head was what you were saying about Forest and how good they've been defensively this season. I wouldn't be surprised if Saka is out, if it is the same front three that started against Bournemouth, which was Trossard, Havertz, Sterling, just because I think what he was trying to go for there is like Martinelli and Sterling are two players that aren't really creators from wide areas, whereas I think Trossard has the ability to be that creator, facilitator out wide. So wouldn't be surprised if Saka is ruled out if it is Trossard, Havertz, Sterling, but I'll keep Martinelli in for my prediction. So Forest's lineup that lost 3-1, surprisingly, against Newcastle was Sells in goal, Ola Aina, Mr. Ribena. That was one of the funniest interviews I've seen. Milenkovic, Murillo, Moreno, midfield three of Dominguez, Gibbs White, and Yates. And then there, I mean, that Usher group, Gibbs White in that front four, to be honest, that is a dangerous four of Callum Hudson-Odoi, Gibbs White, Alanga, and Chris Wood. So in terms of how the game will go, that will feed into score predictions. I'm similar to you. I don't think it's going to be a comfortable one at all. I think there'll be real periods of nervousness. I know they just lost 3-1 to Newcastle, but I think there's something where, like, and you spoke there about Nuno calming their fans. I think there's something where when you're a team that is punching above expectations, especially at home, there is then an onus to adopt a style of a more possession-based approach and more dominance. And I don't think that's how Forest play to their best. They're a team that looks to kind of absorb pressure and really hit you fast and aggressive. And it's no surprise that's what the template was for them beating Liverpool at Anfield. So I think there's a danger here that Arsenal fans will look and go, oh, they just lost 3-1 at Newcastle against Newcastle. I think it's a very different ball game when they're coming to the Emirates and they're going to be able to implement a style that suits them better than the way they would have to kind of approach games at home, given that uptake and expectancy from fans. So it's a game where I think we'll have a lot of possession, we'll have a lot of the ball, but Forest won't mind that. We just have to make sure structurally and positionally we are on it whenever there's turnovers, whenever we lose the ball, because that front four, especially the wide guys, that is very scary. And that I was actually considering, I wonder if Partey will be right back, get Calafiori in off the bench, Timber left back, just to ease Calafiori in, Rice Marino. But I just don't think he'll go for that kind of Partey right back with the pace and power that Forest have got out wide. So yeah, tight game, cagey game. I think we'll have a lot of the ball. I think we will be able to unlock them and create chances. I just don't think we'll fully keep them out. I'm going 2-1 to the Arsenal. And yeah, quite a cagey game. What about you?
So just to throw a spanner in the works, on the betting markets, Arsenal are currently the highest for the clean sheet odds as well, which I think kind of goes tactically into what you were saying about, like they're away from home. They're gonna wait for opportunities. Like with the pace they have, they can just kind of have a game plan to shut up shop, and then like from the 60th minute on, sub on a few pacey outlets on the wide parts of the pitch and just hammer the long balls and try to get us on the counter every time. I think they did that exact game plan when they beat Liverpool 1-0. But they literally just soaked it up, put some of their fast players on the bench. Yeah. So for me, it's like that template that you said is like our job is to like get those goals so that the entire template gets thrown out, because then they have to chase the game to get an equalizer from like the first half onwards. I think with Martin back, I'm less scared about them doing the deep block. And so I think we will, despite saying it's a tough game, I think we will open the floodgates and we will go on to win 2-0 and keep the clean sheet.
Fuck hell, when you said floodgates, I was like, oh, what is he going to say? 4-5
against Forest? No, against Forest, I considered that floodgates.
That was the biggest anti-climax I've ever seen.
3-4.
So what was that? Sorry, 2-0. You reckon?
2-0. Yeah,
okay,
2-0.
All right, yeah, I'll be happy with that. To be fair, so yeah, 2-0. Nima's gone for 2-1. I've gone for. Nima's got 10% correct scores. I have got 0. So We know what's going to happen. Neither of us are going to get the correct score. And I was going to say something horrible there. No, I
I
won't
know.
say it.
Don't manifest it. I was like,
Uh,
wait, if neither of us get the correct score, then the only other scores I can think of are like 1-1 or 1-0 to them. I was like, shit.
Let's go into a couple of questions before we get out of here. So, actually, we'll just take one, just because of time. So we're almost at half hour. So, Marsh, how are you both viewing Liverpool now? More difficult fixtures to come for them, but no one, and he puts, even the most positive Liverpool fans saw them in this position. Do you want to take that away first?
I think they. So I was going to say two things. I actually believe that this was the season they tried to win the league, or it's bust for like 3 years. So my view was that even though people maybe didn't expect this, that run of fixtures at the beginning and how they've done in those fixtures does not seem unusual to me, because in the same vein where we've played like I think 8 of the top 10 away from home already, and like they've played like one team in the top 10 like away from home, I think, already. So like when I just kind of compared it to, I'm like, you know what, this isn't so bad. And I kind of like this, that we're not the ones who people have to be like, oh, Arsenal were first for 250 days, and then right at the end they got overtaken. Like, I would very much rather we just kind of sit there, focus on ourselves, play our own games, and not be the one who's like being hunted down by both City and Liverpool, breathing down our neck for the next like 7 months. So I kind of prefer this situation we're in. I just want us to make that gap a little bit smaller by the new year. And I still personally see Man City as the bigger threat, even with the news of Kovacic now out for 3 weeks to 4 weeks and other issues that are mounting on them over there. The reason I say, just to go back to the very first sentence I said, which is I thought this was their season or bust, is because, you know, they're world-class players that they have. Nothing's really changed, right? Like, they brought in one player. I understand it's not quite worked out with Chiesa, but at the same time, the rest of that squad, like, this is a squad that was challenging. We forget that this same squad was playing Arsenal at the Emirates in like February of this year, and they had the chance to go 7 or 8 points clear of Arsenal at the top of the league in February 2024 before they lost. So nothing has changed for me. This is still that team. Like, yeah, they had some injuries and they fell off at the end of last season, but there's no reason to believe that those same players, with the 3 world-class players that I believe they have in Van Dijk, Trent, and Salah, weren't going to push it all the way this year. Now, equally, like, Slot's had the best start to a Premier League campaign of any new manager, like in the history of the Premier League or something. So I think it is a bit like, I didn't quite see it to this level, Marsh. But my view just is that when the going gets tough, when they do play these tougher fixtures, when they do have to play every 3 days, when they hit a road bump, we've not seen how they react too much to adversity apart from that loss to Forest. I've not seen like what actually happens in other situations where like they're going through a tough time. Someone gets injured who's very important to them. There's so much more to come, right? And I just don't think that they have it. And part of it will be because I think those 3 players I mentioned that are world class, some of them might get distracted. Like, if they're not going to extend their contracts, distraction's going to creep in. Like, imagine you're there waiting to leave on a free transfer to Real Madrid and you're Trent, and you're in like March, April, and you're going into a 50-50 challenge, and it's like, oh, do I fully commit? What if I get an ACL and like then I don't go to Madrid on 500k a week? So you know what I mean? Like, I think the longer those contracts are not announced as extended, the more of this season that goes on and the harder the fixtures get. I do think that things will get a bit ropey, and then we'll really see what they're about when we get to that.
Fair play. There's elements of what you said that I share, but then I think, this international break, I've reflected it's like so much more on kind of like a higher level view on football, and I think I now so let me answer Marsh's question. How are you both viewing Liverpool now? I'm viewing them more serious today than I did after the Arsenal Chelsea game, and I think it's that time to reflect where I've been one of these people that's been saying, let's see what happens when they have these bumps in the road and they have these tough fixtures and stuff. And I do think there's an element of like, if they had the injuries we've had, I know they missed Alisson, I know they missed Jota, but like the if, when, then of what happens when like your first choice is out, then your backup is also out, and this and that. Like, I think that would fuck them. But I'm less convinced that they'll slip up in the tough games with a fully fit squad now. And I think it's just like I've seen a lot of the kind of data stuff come out about them during the international break, and their underlying data is strong. And I think there's a lot of similarities between this run they're on and the Arsenal run that we went on in the before the World Cup, sorry, that 22-23 season, where I remember people kept saying, "Oh, it's the fixtures, it's the fixtures." But as an Arsenal fan, we could tell there was something more sustainable about what we were doing. Like, sure, we had easy fixtures, but it was the manner in which we were winning and walloping teams and scoring goals freely. And I don't doubt, and I've said this before and I've seen it, Liverpool aren't the most resolute defensively. They're the statistical best defensive team on paper so far. There are structural weaknesses that can be exploited. Their power and ability to outscore the opponent is what concerns me. And I think 9 points, if that doesn't shorten soon, I think we're in trouble then, because then it's not a case about can they drop so many points. It's about how long you have with that buffer room to narrow the gap, right? And then the shorter that timeline is, the less wiggle room you've got. So to go back to the question, how are you both viewing Liverpool? I'm more worried about them than I was literally 2 weeks ago, just because I've had time to reflect, maybe remove some of my biases, just look at them a bit more objectively. I do think there's a lot of similarities in how they're playing, how they're approaching games, how they're exceeding expectations, how they're getting outcomes to what we did in 22-23 prior to the World Cup. I was just going to say something else on that note, but I've lost my train of thought, so I'll leave it there.
I just want to say
sure.
one thing on that. So I think I agree. Like, actually, when you do look at their numbers, they are phenomenal. And 9 points is a crazy amount, right? So it is a long way to go. My thing with them is, like, let's say Konate gets injured, right? Let's say Van Dijk gets injured. Like, I just don't know, like, how they would deal with that. It's easy
I
to
agree.
say. Like,
Sorry,
that's what we need. So my question for you was, like, let's say no injuries happen, though, to any of the three squads, City, Arsenal, Liverpool now. Do you, based on your reflection over the last 2 weeks, do you view them not just better than you did 2 weeks ago, but do you now consider them the front runner? Because Liverpool fans are scared to say that they're the front runner, and yet, like, it's kind of like you can't.
That's a really good question. That really helps me illustrate where my brain is at with them. Fully fit squads till the end of the season, I think Liverpool win the league. I think they're the front runners. I think they're the favourites. I just think 9 points is too big a gap with everyone fully fit.
What about against City, though, where it's not a 9-point gap for them, right? So, like, fully fit squads.
What's the point? What's the gap between the two of them?
Like maybe 5. Let me have a look.
Yeah, not sure, but I think it'll be them. Basically, fully fit squads between the three of us. I don't think it'll be us that wins the league right now. Yeah. If Liverpool face injuries, so, like, literally, this is the thing. I've not accounted for injuries because they could have a similar thing to us, where they have a substantial period where they don't have injuries like we did last year. I know we did have some, but they could get lucky, and their core, like, they could deal with injuries there are certain players in your starting 11 that you can deal with being injured. There are certain players that are just key linchpins in your team where you're fucked if they're out. And I think if that happens to their key cogs, like a Konate you mentioned there, a Van Dijk, a Salah, Trent's missing Southampton. It's annoying, like, they're playing Southampton, right? But if it was a different team, that could be one. So yeah, I think going back to your question, fully fit squads, I don't think we win the league with the 9-point gap. I don't know if it'll be Liverpool, City, but it'll be one of them. If Liverpool have to face the same injuries and scenarios that Arsenal and City have had to do, I think we close that 9-point gap. Yeah. Fully fit squads, I think we're the best team and squad in this league. I just think there's been so many extenuating circumstances that we've been up against where we're in an unfortunate position, part self-inflicted, part bad luck. It is what it is.
I know we do need to go, but I just want to say, I'm going to make a bold claim now, which is that between now and the 5th of Jan, when Liverpool play Man United at Anfield, I'm going to predict now to you how many points they're going to drop right away.
Okay.
So they're going to play City on the 1st of December. I'm going to take that as, I was thinking to myself, would a draw be better for us there? Or is it the kind of situation where Liverpool's so far ahead, we actually almost need City to win? I still think I'd rather take the draw. So I'm going to say they're going to drop 2 points against City at home.
Is this what you think or what you're wishing?
No, it's what I think will happen. But I don't know what I should wish for that game, whether I should.
No. Yeah, say what you think will happen.
I think it will be a draw, though. So I think it'll be a draw. So that's 2 points drop. I think Newcastle at St. James's Park on the Wednesday. So look at this. They're going to... Okay, let's put it this way. They play Southampton, sure, right? This weekend. Wednesday, they play Real Madrid.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so Wednesday, they play Real Madrid in the Champions League. Wednesday, the 27th of November. Sunday, the 1st of December, they play Man City. 2 points drop for me. Maybe even injuries against Madrid. Newcastle, Liverpool, the 4th of December. So 3 days after City, they travel to the other side of England. And I think Newcastle get points.
It's the other side of England for us. It's not for them.
Yeah, no, I know. But so they lose 4 points there, I'm saying. So I'm suggesting that by the 4th of December, like literally about a week and a half from today's recording day, they'll have already dropped 4 points in the league. 2 against City, 2 against Newcastle. And then it doesn't get better. 3 days later, they go and play the Merseyside derby at Everton. So I'll suggest they'll win that one. So I won't get them dropping points then. Then they got an away leg at Girona. They come back against Fulham. I think they do Fulham at home. Tottenham away, I think they lose. So that's 3 points now. So that's 7 points dropped by the 22nd of December. They beat Leicester. They beat West Ham. And then on the 5th of Jan, United sneak in a draw as well. So what's that? That's like 9 points drop between now and the 5th of Jan.
And how many points do you see us dropping in that period?
Yeah, that's the part I didn't want to. Arsenal matches
right.
it. So let me see just Arsenal's fixtures. But yeah, I think if I just look at the Prem fixtures, I'll give you a very quick.
Because I mean, we've got the ability to win all of them. I don't think we will.
So wait, so 5th of December would be game week 20. So we'd be literally like...
You mean 5th of Jan?
Yeah, so the 5th of Jan would be like as in like after 19, 20 games have been played out, the 38 in the season, right? So it'll be the exact halfway point. And if my prediction of them dropping 9 points between now and that halfway point in the league campaign comes true, we then need to obviously see what I think we would drop. I think we will, in the same run of fixtures, maybe call me delusional if you like, but I think we can win every single match from game week 12 to game week 20.
Yeah, I think we can.
Forest, West Ham, United, Fulham, Everton, Palace, Ipswich, Brentford, Brighton. I think we can win every single one of those, and I think they can drop 9 points in that run.
I think we can. I don't think we will. I think there'll be a couple slip-ups. For me, the objective in this period isn't Liverpool need to drop X amount of points. We need to win every game. For me, it's just get to, I like that window, 5th of Jan. Just get to the 5th of Jan and make sure the gap isn't 9 points. Make it.
Then we have like a little break. There's 2 weeks. There's cups and stuff. But yeah, I just really, I believe, like maybe I'm crazy. You've had 2 weeks to reflect and see them as a more serious contender. I've had 2 weeks to reflect, and I am more convinced that we can win the league this season than I was last season. I am as well now than last year. Despite being so far behind at this stage, I still feel we're in a better position to do it this time around than last time. And I don't know if that's just crazy, but
no. For what it's worth, like maybe I haven't put my emotions across properly. Like, I agree. I definitely agree. I don't think it's done at all. And I still think we're getting stronger with the players we're getting back and stuff. I do agree. I'm just a bit more, don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Liverpool are more serious in my head than they were 2 weeks ago. But let's leave it there.
They've gone up in your estimations. I think that's the key thing. Yeah,
but just final few statements, not questions before we get out of here. So lots of reactions to your epiphany. So Mike Halpin, Uncle Mike says we will have a 9-point lead over them by January. Marsh says sounds like we'll have the league wrapped up by Feb, ready to concentrate on winning the Champions League. Job done. Nima on the hangover fumes. Just a final quick fire question for Uncle Mike. Before we do actually get out of here, I promise. Question. What steak should he have tonight? Ribeye or a fuck off tomahawk? It's got to be a tomahawk, surely.
I said ribeye just to not overindulge before the big game tomorrow and then like have the tomahawk tomorrow if or when we win. So you kind of get both, right?
No, just we can't promise we're going to win. Just fucking get the tomahawk.
Just get the tomahawk
and get another one if we win. You can get a ribeye
tomorrow.
Anyway.
If you win tomorrow, get 2 tomahawks tomorrow. One today, 2 tomorrow.
Get a ribeye on a random day in your holiday. Just get your tomahawk sorted. Get that fixed. But yeah, let's leave it there. It's been a little bit of a longer preview, but it was nice to get the cobwebs dusted off. We're back after the international break. Content schedule to be confirmed. So hit the bell so you know when we're going live. We have got a guest lined up to do the Forest review with me on Sunday. So yeah, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss when we go live. If you're listening on podcast, give it a 5-star review. That helps us a lot. And the one thing that does help us more than anything, to be honest, outside of reviews and subscriptions, is just sharing it. Like if you've got any Arsenal supporting friends that you think would like this content, share it around in your group chats and with your mates and family and stuff. That tends to be a lot of the positive feedback we get is when people share it with mates. So thanks again to everyone for joining. Like I said, I'll be back on Sunday with a guest to review the Forest game. And fingers crossed, it's a nice 3 points. And we start on this 57 unbeaten game run that Nima's claiming we're going to go on. So
and if you want me to buy you a drink, be at the Toddlington at 1:30 p.m. tomorrow before kickoff. I will stay till 2. So if you're there between 1:30 and 2, find me, tweet me, I'll buy you around.
I hate the Tollington, but free drinks, so I'll see you there.
I'll see you there.
Nice one. All right. Cheers, everyone. Up the Arsenal.